Morning, everyone. Welcome to another great day for trading. Had an interesting morning to start off. Gap down, gap open down. Looking for still within a 10-point range. And looking for 45-degree angle on the ergs, 60-degree angle on the biases. 10 ergs are down. Going to try something a little different today. Brandon is here with me as well today. Darren's taking an early vacation due to Thanksgiving for a couple of days, and thought the markets would be a little slower, but with the geopolitical issues happening over in Europe this morning, we could have a little more volatility. We're not going to do it, suggesting possibly not doing a setup 10 or 10 base trades under a 10-point range today. So we'll watch how those pay off. It's just a suggestion from some of our guys behind the scenes, some of the patterns they've been watching. Given that our volume is up more today, they may actually pay off and work out, but we'll just keep an eye on them. We can be looking for a possible one volume 1E. Ones have backed off. C have come in nicely. Again, C bias is down nicely, nothing to pair with it. Could be looking for a possible EK. Someone made a comment that they heard someone call me here. My office isn't soundproof. And there's another call coming in for me. We'll have to wait till after a session. Volume tick moving up. Nothing for a scalp at the moment. 10 ergs are down nicely, 45 degrees. Threes have just turned down. 3B even, 3C. If we get a red arrow, looking for a red arrow. 3-1 is coming in to support this. At a point of resistance, 75, 74, 75. Nice 3B, 3C, 3-1. Our K did back off, as well as the L. May need to wait for the volumes and the ticks to finish their cycle. Possible EK, scalp coming upwards, tick, volume tick, EKF. There's a white arrow. Oops, let's get rid of this one here. Targeting a tick. I'm tapped on the tick. moved my stop to the wrong spot. I meant to move it to 5 ticks down, and came to a point. Actually would have tapped me out anyway. So I was down a point on that scalp. I came in looking for a red arrow for a trade. There, 3 is weakened now. B is weakened. Moving back up to profit position on the scalp. If we were still in, we're in a consolidation zone. We had a pullback, and that would have paid off actually. We just didn't endure the 5 tick pullback. Ones have turned up nicely. Nothing to pair with them. Ticks are up. It's one of those moves I could see happening with that strong scalp that was there, and it came back on us and had a pull back to the bottom of our, close to the bottom of our consolidation range, and has popped up through 78.50 is the top of our next range. 1DE tick. There's a buy signal at 317. I didn't get filled. It dropped several ticks. Scalp is backed off, so I'm going to not take that. We were at the top of our bigger range point of resistance when that arrow came in, and it actually came back several ticks, so didn't fill me on that. A bias is angling up, getting a little deeper in this rise up. Someone's asking about a 3B. 3s are nice. We need 60-degree angle in the B bias, and it's not quite. It's right around 45. Even a tad less than 45 by my eye. Certainly can see the market coming down, possibly a scalp coming in. The volume tick EKF. Want to see 45-degree angle on the ergs. The volume top erg is flashing in and out of angle. EK spiking up. Nothing to pair with that. Close to a 3B down. We need 60-degree angle on the erg. Volume tick E. F isn't quite 45 degrees. It was very close on that signal, even close to a 3D. The D is 45 degrees. It wasn't 60. Coming down to the tick trend line. Bouncing back up. EK, strong EK spiking with the F. Need another component. The ones are there now. If there's a buy, the ones are in and out. E's backed off. Point of resistance at the top, 78.50. Came part way to closing the gap. Came very close to the low of yesterday. Closing the gap means we come back to where the market closed the previous day. We had a gap open. We opened lower than where the market closed. Tens are angled down nicely. Threes are angled down nicely. Tick EKF down if they're looking for a red arrow. For a scalp, close to a 3D as well. If we get a scalp coming in, we could possibly transition to a 3D, maybe hold on for a few ticks more. And we dropped a point without an arrow coming right down to our point of resistance. There's an arrow. Got my target down further. Three C coming in. Right at the point of resistance. Just going to try to take two ticks here. There's a 2 ticks. We get past the resistance, bounce off at 74.50. If we get past this resistance, we can possibly get in again if another setup comes and signal. Sometimes we get to hard resistance like this. I've seen this being a bounce spot, this area, a few times this morning. Looked like we were about to come into a bigger setup from the scalp, and it didn't fully develop. So we took the low-hanging fruit that was there. Can consider 1 isn't quite there. 3s are there beautifully. C isn't quite there. Spiking down. C is spiking down for a 3C. Scalps, we don't have a scalp. D is starting to tick down as well. It's ticking flat. Again, we're at the point of resistance. EK up. Tick EKF. EK is beautiful. With that tick and the F, if it holds and we get a white arrow, we're in a consolidation zone. EK is backed off. 3s are still down. Maybe a push back down with that EK backing off. 3D down. Looking for a red arrow. This could be the push down to our point of resistance. We'd like to see it go through. Still in the consolidation zone. D is deeper, but not quite 45, and we're pushing through. It's probably going to come in deeper. 3s are strong down near the bottom of their cycle. Even a 3-1. We get a 3-1, a red arrow. We can consider that for our tracking purposes. with a bit of angle on the C. Push through the point of resistance by a tick. Drop by a point. Next point of resistance, 325 was a bounce spot. One E spiking. Move down like this, you'd like to see a pullback for a base 3. If a scalp comes in, we can jump in. 1E, F was green K spiking up. Could be temporary. Three, one down. A nice pullback, a point. Volume E upwards. Need two more components. One erg has gone flashing green, losing that. Do have the D coming back in. If there is a red arrow, we can consider a 3D down. Just being cautious of that one erg turning green may be indicative of a shorter push upwards. We've lost our D bias. Well, actually looks like it's back. D is flickering. Coming back into a 3D, looking for a red arrow. Even 3C coming in. Maybe we're going to head down to the bottom of our morning. We're near the midpoint range of our day. Always a decision point for the market, as we've oftentimes commented. 3C and D in and out. Red K attack coming in. Hasn't crossed yet. Looking for a red arrow. Ticking down to the bottom of our new point of resistance to 73.50. Less than a minute, our 10 and 5 candlesticks will plot again. As well as the 1 minutes. Pulling back, we see a green J attack coming in, backed off. Looking for a red arrow, coming back to push to 73.50. Haven't had a red arrow in over 5 minutes. E spiking down. Looking for a red arrow, the 144.317. B bias has come down. We've got a 3BC. 10 ergs are down as well. E is down nicely. E was spiking down, it's flattened. Made a push, didn't get an arrow. Holding this 73.75, pushed a few ticks below it and bounced right back up to our tick trend line. We are at the 10-minute trend line going down. There's a white arrow for a pullback. Coming close to a 1DE. Volume and tick are not quite there. F isn't there. Pull back to our support level, 74.50. The last 5 minutes. 3 is starting to weaken at the bottom, still 45 degrees. C is no longer 60 degrees, it's weakened. But we do have a 3B. Gain 3 is at the bottom. Not as strong as it was before. Could start to turn, seeing a possible 1E moving up. It's ticking in and out, as well as the F. F isn't quite there yet. 1DEK. There's a buy for a scalp. Just move through our point of resistance by a tick. I just filled our tick. Lost our D. The ones are still strong. Volume is coming in now. One volume E. E is flattening. If we get the E and the F, even one volume tick are looking good now. If we get another buy signal, there's a buy signal in the 317. Just a tick target. It's at a point of resistance, 75.50. Above it is a point of resistance. Bigger bounce. Have my target just below there to get the easier profit. If it moves through the 75.50, we could bounce or move further higher. It's tapped on there a couple of times. Still nice strong ones volumes. 3s are going green. Gonna move my profit up to 2 ticks. Being the scalp, just seeing this pullback. Sometimes we get a pullback and then it pushes through. I can quickly lock in the tick if I need to. $75.50 is that point of resistance. It has tapped through to $75.75 before. Still nice ones. Some of the other components of our scalp have backed off. I'm not going to pull back or stop. 5 tick stop. It is near a support level. I just got stopped out. Let's Let's watch for volume EK, E backed or K backed off. Volume tick EF. Looking for a red arrow. D is coming in as well. We just came down to our bottom of our consolidation. I'd like to see it break through. Need to be careful with scalps when you're within tighter consolidation points like this. Ideally, an entry point would have been a few ticks lower. We didn't have the setup and the arrow. Make sure you practice scalps before you try them live. Normally they're for bigger traders. Nothing wrong with waiting for the bigger setups to come in. Close to a 5B coming down here. Actually, those 5s look like they're 45. If we do get a red arrow, we'd have a 5B. Even a 10-5. I know we said earlier we aren't going to consider base 10s, but we'll talk about the setup if it is there. We aren't going to consider S10s and base 10s within a 10-point range, which we are within a 10-point range still this morning. That A bias has angled down a bit, and it would be a setup 10 if we were looking for that. There's a red arrow for a 5B. Entry 73 going south. Broke through our consolidation zone. Have the 10s supporting this. And my target down at 71. 71 is a low over morning. If we break 71, we could have a bigger sell-off. Interesting, the market came down to the midpoint of our morning, tried to push up through there a couple of times, has come back the other way now. Let's see if we can go down to the bottom. Five B, 10 supporting this, so it would normally be a 10-5 as well, even a setup 10. We're tracking the setup 10 within a 10-point range this morning. But we do have the 5B. It's nice to have that bigger setup supporting this. Biases C, D, E, F are all in the red. I'm going to put my target lower actually in case it has a flash drop, and then trail this. Trail it tightly down to the 71 mark. We can push through the 71. We've lost our 5B. Just trying to take a point. We do have a 5A. I didn't see that A in time. I just saw the B go flat and the A was spiking down. So I'll need to wait for a pullback in order to get back in. There was a quick reaction when I saw the B go and saw the threes going green, and just reacted quickly, and then saw the A spiking down. There's another sell arrow. If I can get that at 71, that's right at the point of resistance. Or 5A. We had a sideways consolidation on our 144. It is right at that hard resistance that we talked about before. I know Darren would have wanted to hold off for a bigger pullback. We did have a white arrow on the 144 for the pullback as well as the sideways. I'm going to pull my stop into 72.50. Don't want to give it quite 2 points. This is just above last candlestick. There's another one at 72.25. Look on the 144, there's 72, which is where we got our point last time, was a significant, on the 144 is a bigger support level, and 72.25 is 2 ticks above that. Putting my target down again. Broke through the 71 by a couple of ticks. Tapped on the point. Still a 5A. 10s are still down nice. 1s are down. Locking in break even. Even a tick. Points open for those that do the set and forget. Locking in 2 ticks. Target way down in case there's a quick drop broken through the lower morning. Got 2 ticks locked in. Just going to hold this here and see if we can have a drop. More conservatively, one could lock in a point. Still have our 5A. I'm going to be a little more aggressive holding on to this to see if we can push down through here. Darren were here, he'd be locking in that point since it's come back to tap on it several times. I'm just going to play this a little more aggressively than he would, just holding off to see if we can push down through here. Still nice 5A. I'm going to take my point if we can get it. No, it dropped. Taking that order out. Locking in. Move my stop to a point. And move down to the 2 points. Just going to back that up to 3 ticks. Just give it a little bit of breathing room. Closing in on our 10-point range on the morning. Nice A bias has come in. Top 5 erg is actually starting to weaken a bit. 10A is there. I'm going to lock in my point. And I'm out at a point. I know that was a support level. It's also a psychological thing for me. Wanted to get that point in terms of our tracking. We had trailed this. Normally we do our set and forget within the 10-point range. Just try to get that point. I was being more aggressive, and of course it would have taken me out at the 3 ticks anyway. Can consider another entry. If we do get another, didn't know how far that pullback would come, seeing the volumes and tick coming up. The E, they never came back up into green yet. Depending on trades that you've taken this morning, you may have already hit your target. If you have, you may want to consider shutting things down. It's your decision. That 5 erg is flashing in and out. I think we're going to drop again, though. I like that A bias, the B bias coming down. Just that 5 erg is weakening. It's not as strong as what it was before. We're in a consolidation zone. 10s are nice. Are we at the 10-point range? 78. We need 2 more ticks to get to a 10-point range. This has turned into a consolidation zone. We lost our C bias. It was nice. 5 erg is weakening. We may still move down. Those nice 10 ergs. We're just outside of a 10-point range, but if I get another red arrow, I think I'll take this based on our 10A. We are in a spot consolidating where we could bounce up. We've seen the volumes and tick move up. E is just about to cross into green. This looks like a pullback to me before we move down. They didn't cross into green. E didn't go into green. If we get the next red arrow, threes have been laying on the bottom. Turned green. One of them has turned green back and forth and have gone flat on the bottom. They haven't turned up yet. E's crossing into green temporarily, spiking there. Market's trying to decide what it wants to do. We've taken the next red arrow with this 10A and even 5A, although that top 5 erg is it's flickering down. That's nice to see. B supporting this. Tapping on the 69. Our point of resistance. When we get past the 10-point range, we could consider a setup 10 compound. We push down, we didn't get a red arrow, we're bouncing right back up in this consolidation zone. Let's see what happens here. We push through the point of resistance by a tick and bounce right back the other way. It's a nice pullback. Let's see if maybe the market wants to start to move up. We see our 3s turning up with our 1s. 3-1 volume tick E, EKF. No white arrows. We've bounced up 2 points off that bottom. This could be a pullback. Even where a tick trend line is 3 points. Oftentimes see pullbacks of up to 3 points. one volume tick EF on a scalp upwards, the more we move without an arrow. Just be very careful because it can come back against us for tracking purposes. If we see an arrow, we will take it. I like to see an arrow earlier in the move myself to get in that sweet spot. Need the ones and volumes to turn, and even the tick to move for a hard push back down. Longer term, that's what I'm looking for, given those nice 10 ergs. Didn't get a white, there's a white arrow, and that's right at the peak of our range, and our scalp is weakening. Looking for a red arrow coming right back down. Someone's asking about an arrow. That white arrow came right at the peak, 71.25. We'd already moved up. We were talking about 2.5, 3-point pullback off the bottom and bigger views going down. And just be careful with scalps when you get in up at that range. And just as it came in, actually, the market backed right off. We're still within a 10-point range. Can consider a setup 10. We said we wouldn't do a setup 10 unless we're over 10 points. We're 9 3/4. We may cheat on that a little bit here, given we're just a tick away from the 10-point range. We've had a high this morning from my eye of 78.50 and a low of 69.75, so we're 9 3/4 points. We have 10.5A, 3BC aren't there. Top 5 erg is weak. It looks it's flashing in and out of 45. Still haven't had the one volume and ticks fully commit to a turn. We pulled back halfway between this recent high and recent low. Looking for a 10A, setup 10. Red arrow, looking for that on the 144, 317. Five erg is coming back into 45 degrees. D is spiking down. Ones or volumes and tick have turned down nicely. Would have been nice to see a red arrow higher up in this range as we're coming down, but we'll take one now anyway if one comes in. So we're coming down towards our low. Making another push. Our fives have weakened. We still have our 10-5 set up 10 on that last 5-minute candlestick replot. There's a red arrow on the 144, the 317. For a setup 10 and a 10A, 69.50. going to add a compound here for my setup 10, 6750. Very close to considering locking in a point on my setup 10. I mean on my 10A. 10A setup 10. Push through that point level for the 10A. I'm going to at least lock in a tick. I'm going to lock in a tick on both the setup 10 and the 10A. And have my double in, or my compound I should say, at 6750. Then I'll throw another one at 6550. Locking in 2 ticks. Could get into a bigger drop. Ones are coming down nicely. 10A is still there. I'm going to lock in 3 ticks. About to lock in a point. And just move through here. Locking in a point. Bring all my targets up here. Overall, it's a tick above the new break-even. Someone was more conservative, they could. We've tapped on 2 ticks. I'm being a little more aggressive. I've got a tick locked in on my new break even. So I've this new compound, I'm playing it tight, looking for the bigger drop. If it drops, we could, tapping on the original 2 points from the original trade. This was our compound level, 6750. Still have that 10A. So for the original 10A and setup 10, we have a point locked in, and then the compound we're not playing it with a 4-point stop. And I've got another order in at 6550 for another compound. Let me just remove that and put that back in so it shows better on the ladder. That'll be my last compound. I'm just going to lock in 2 ticks. I say 2 ticks, but that's 3 contracts at 2 ticks. Very nice. Tapping on what was the original 2 points. Actually moved through it by a couple of ticks earlier. I'm just going to take my and it came back to take me out. 68.25. I just need to do some quick calculations here. So 68.25, that was a point and a quarter on my original 10.5, 10A, and a point and a quarter on my original setup 10, and the compound was down 3 ticks. So in the end, I was up 2.5 minus 3 ticks. So 1.75, does that make sense? Yeah, 0.75. If I had just taken the original setup 10 when it and the 10.5, could have got 4 points off of 2 points each as we tapped on that 67.50, but I was being more aggressive and locking in, doing the compound. We're bouncing up right now. Of course, we mentioned others could have done that, could have locked in those points. Certainly a nice trade. We have had a bounce back of 0.75. Still have the 10A set up 10. Threes have turned up. Right at the tick trend line. Volume E backed off. We don't do set up 10s now that our threes have turned. I believe the rules are that we have right now is that if there's a set up 10 and threes are going the opposite way, we won't consider that now. They were at the bottom and conflicted when we entered originally. Maybe close to a 3D. Volume tick D is weak, less than 45 degrees. We are greater than a 10-point range now. Again, if someone has reached their target, if they've reached their target for the day, may want to consider pulling back your contracts or shutting things down or trading a demo. It's always good to end a day on a winning note. This A bias is weakening on the pullback. It's still 45 degrees. Our 10 ergs are weakening near the bottom. They still are 45 degrees. Not as strong as they were when we were coming down. After having had this pullback, we've pulled back 2.25 points. We could push right back down to the low again. The market's in a zone of starting to turn. And you get the ergs weakening. They're still there. Sometimes the weakening ergs, the trade may not be as strong as what the previous push was. D bias is down nicely. Nothing to pair with the threes. And that top 10 erg is weakening more. Just trying to look at it here. It's very close to the 45. Of course, the A bias is weakening as well. Maybe looking at 3-1 coming up now. We're at a possible turn point in terms of a push back down. There's a white arrow for a 3-1. That D bias came in. nice E spiking tick, 3-1D. Next point of resistance is 71.25. A bias has gone flat. So any inklings that we had of another 10A right now is off the table. We did have a second buy arrow on the 317 and one on the 144 as well. We're holding this level. I'd like to see the market push through here. 3-1, C supporting it, D supporting it. Volumes and ticks are near their top. Got to get through the 70. 70 was a point of resistance coming down. Someone a little more conservative could even just target a tick. It may have filled you. I'm going to hold on, given greater than a 10-point range, hold on for at least a point. I'm going to put my target higher, actually. The 5s have just gone green as well, too. I see a green H attack coming in. We do need to get through the 70. A little more action today than what I anticipated. Volume is a bit higher than yesterday, which was nice to see. We are in a 3-1 going up. 5s are turning. B bias is starting to angle up. Holding the trend line 69 as a shorter term point of resistance, or support level. Watching that one erg at the top. It's on the verge of turning. 3s are still up nicely. Our C bias went flat. 69 is a support level. E is spiking up. Our volumes and ticks are turning. I'm going to play this tight. Just hovering over a couple of ticks down. I don't want to turn this into a bigger loss if the market starts to come back down to the bottom. But I want to give it a few moments to try to push through as well. And the one erg has flattened. It's a 3B borderline. I'm just going to get out here and tick down if I can. There, about a tick down. If I'd moved a bit quicker a moment ago, I could have got out of break even. It opened up briefly. I still think the 3s, 5-3 came in nice. But our B bias weakened. And our B and C being in the red and not as strong as they were, the 1s, volumes, ticks turning, we may get a scalp down before we move back up. We could even push down. There's a red arrow on the 144. If I can get the 68.75. So we target 2 ticks. 5 tick stop. I'm just going to try to take a tick here, actually. A tick opened up. I did have a 2-tick target. It was a nice scalp when we entered. One's volumes ticks are still turning down. E hasn't crossed into red yet. It's a weaker 5 and 3 are nice. Going up. I got my stop right at the point of resistance, or the support level. Ideally, you'd want it back further than that, but on a scalp, you don't want to do that. I don't want to lose more than 5 ticks on the scalp. I'd have to pull it back 7 ticks. We're pushing back down. Maybe still good here. Still the one's volumes and ticks haven't turned up, that is. Biases E and F are still in the green. And there's that tick. It was a little dicey. Let's see if it does push through though now. The one's turning down sharper. The E and F are still in the green. They haven't come in sharp. So this could still be a support level going up. We have the 5-3 ergs there. C is flat. B has some angle. It is in the red. Smaller charts, we see the 1D down. F is starting to come down to red, still in the green. Here's that original scalp we had pushing, tapping on what would have been 2 ticks. If someone was a little more aggressive and holding on, may or may not have filled. We are in a consolidation zone. We have come down to halfway between a recent high and recent low. Pushing up to the top of this range. D is coming in. So the arrow and a 3D supported by the 5s. Putting my target higher just for the moment. See if we can push through the top. A nice EK spike. D has flattened. We still have the 5-3. B is getting weaker. Tapping on the point. If I can take the point, we're coming close to this point of resistance. Close to our, there's a point filled. It's one of those ones you want to hold on. You're coming close to a point of resistance. The setups weaken. Now they're coming back in again. This is the point of resistance, 71.25. Got the low-hanging fruit. And There's another arrow that came in without a pullback. It wasn't a scalp to enter. Our smaller charts are coming in. 5-3, C is there now, D is there. That's what I kind of felt was happening. Felt that earlier too, but it didn't push. We came back, and this time we set up weakened before we could just held on for a moment. We took the profit. We got the low-hanging fruit.
Nothing wrong with low-hanging fruit.
No, there isn't.
Morning, Greg.
Good morning, Brandon. We're up 3 points in the day, actually 3.25 points. So if someone has hit their target, if someone was still holding on to this, could have locked in another point as well. It's right around that 2-point area. For us, for tracking purpose, we do need to see a pullback after having moved up. It's gone sideways a couple of candlesticks on the 144 and 317. Looks like we may be coming close to one of your setups, Brandon.
We've got, yes, this is, yep, with that retick of the C bias, that's all 4 charts. Well, it's coming in and out. It's getting ready to commit. If that 1D holds, if the D doesn't, well, it's slowly losing angle. I'd prefer to see, one of the things I didn't mention last time is I'd like to see entry for scalps. Best entry for scalps is if it's right at the beginning of the range. You'll notice that the volumes are kind of in the middle of deciding if they're going to, yeah, they're just getting ready to turn down. So we might not actually have the scalp entry, but we certainly do have the 4 charts, and we have the 10s and the A coming around to support this as well. So this looks like a great trade upwards. We just need to see the smaller term charts finish their cycling, in my opinion.
Yep. We are in a consolidation after a move up of 4 points. When you get into consolidation, having gone sideways, we'd like to see a red arrow for a pullback, but sideways is good enough as well. If we do see for our tracking a white arrow for a 5-3, 5B, C, more conservatively, if you're following Brandon's setup, it is at a spot when you're in a consolidation, the market can break either way. We have seen that happen. Our C is weakening. 5s and 3s are nice. B is coming to break even. We did push through by a couple of ticks without any arrows.
If you're following the Brandon setup, right now is a perfect time to exercise patience. Looking for the smaller charts to cycle through, be revealing even more angle. We actually have an A bias with us now as well.
We did have an arrow at 73.25 for our 5-3.
I'm really liking the angle on that B bias. Well, never mind, not the B bias, but the 5s. I really like the angle that's developing.
A just went flat. 5 and 3 is nice. 10 ergs have turned green. We are at a decision point. I like the 5 and 3 ergs. Longer term, we may have a bit of a pullback first. Do have our stop below our support level of 71.75. Hope we don't come back that far. Need to wait for the volumes and the ticks to turn. Volume erg and tick erg to turn, finish the cycle, move back up. Putting my target higher. just in case there's a quick push up. High of the morning is 78.50. Being here at 73.50, we are near the midpoint range of our morning. And this can be a turning spot. I didn't see that a few moments ago. Sometimes the midpoint of the day is a decision point. I was looking on the chart to see if there's any other points of resistance. I didn't see any or support levels. Still nice green DEF bias, though they're angled down.
This is one of those moments when you see that the smaller charts sometimes can drive the angle or lack of angle on the larger charts, specifically right now looking at the biases, and it looks like we might even still be pushing through. There's a lot of pressure upwards right now. Those 10s are starting to come in full force behind the rest of the charting. I still like to stay safer. I'm going to wait until I see the scalps finish their cycle through, and then I'll take the trade. Hopefully that C bias will develop back upwards again once the 1s and volumes and the D and the E have finished pushing through their downward pressure and have more pressure upwards. But yeah, there's a lot of the 10s are developing at the exact same time, pushing upwards. A good indication of a lack of chaos on the market floor. A lot of agreements that people are preferring the buying trades over the selling trades. 5s are strong angled upwards and very consistent. Consistent charts are also very comforting to be watching, just like the 3s right now, very consistently together. C is flickering a bit, but as I mentioned, good time to just be waiting and see what the C looks like after the scalp charts cycle through.
Someone's asking if I took a point. It tapped on the point, but it didn't break through. It didn't open up. I didn't have my target set at the point. Shorter term, 72.75 is a support level. Considering maybe getting out right now, just with those smaller charts, just holding on for a moment. I don't want it to come back all the way to 2 points after having been several ticks in the profit. The C bias did flatten. We had nice angle before. 5s and 3s are still there. The A bias was nice before, but it's gone. Some of the components we had are not as strong. We still have nice 5s. 3s are at the top and starting to crest a little. They were stronger a few moments ago, based on those 5 ergs being strong. I'm just holding off here. $72.75 is a support level. Here's another push. Of course, those 10s, as you mentioned, Brandon, our B bias has gone flat now too. Last time this happened, we had a push up just a few moments after I got out.
Yeah, it's our volumes are just at the bottom. Our E is starting to push upwards, but it might have been too much pressure downwards. Our 3s are at the top, and they look like they're starting to mature, and the C is starting to angle downwards as well. So a bit more clarity before we enter. We certainly don't have, in my standings, the 4 charts, but it's almost like the market has consolidated over the last 5 minutes. We've been kind of bouncing around the same 2-point range after a large 5-point push upwards.
Just tried to get out at break even, and it slipped away on me. See if it pushes back up. Support level is 72.50. I'm going to take a point down. I don't want it to come back any further on me.
You'll notice, by the way, I wanted to take a moment and talk about what Greg just did. You'll notice that he didn't click an exit button, a sell button, or a buy button. He waited until he had a bracket in place, and then he exited based on the bracket. If you were watching the trading ladder, this is the best way to exit a trade, as the market will never be able to surpass the limit at which you place your bracket. If you place your stop loss below the value, let's say you're trading upwards and you're entered in on a buy signal, then if you place your stop loss below the value of the market can never move past that value and take you out of your trade, out of value later than where the bracket is. If you set your profit bracket above the value of the market will never move past that value either. So the brackets are quite literally encompassing your trade and bracketing the amount of profit or loss that you can have. And so when you're exiting a trade, even if you are exiting down, as Greg just did, if you use a bracket, that is the best way to exit a trade. I don't know how many people are able to watch that and see that in detail, but that's a great example of how to exit a trade if you aren't securing profit on the trade and you still need to exit. Just looking at the volumes, they are starting to come back up. Our e-bias is not committing. It's having a disagreement with the volumes. Let them argue for a bit. We'll watch for other information. And we had the replot at 11:18 just now. The three ergs are now conflicted. Technically conflicted. Realistically, they're in the process of turning with C bias. So we're seeing a short-term wave that's pushing through the larger charts. We saw a lot of red pressure in the scalp charts. We're now seeing that red pressure start to reflect in the three column, and now we're seeing that the 5 column is starting to reflect the same. The B bias is flat and it's starting to just slightly angle down. So this could be a bit of consolidation. We're still consolidated at the moment. This could be consolidation, and then as the wave continues through the larger charts, this could be something that pushes through eventually a bit further down. Now's a great time if anybody has any questions, any clarification you'd like to ask, any especially to our guests. Welcome. We're happy you're with us today. If you have any questions for us, feel free to enter them in the question box. You can find that on the right side of your screen. It's on the white GoToWebinar control panel. You'll notice there are blue bars that have titles on them. There's a title bar with the word questions. You can ask any questions you'd like in there. Myself and Greg read them all and process them. Some of them we respond to through the chat program. There's another blue bar just below where it says chat. You can respond to people and communicate with us personally. If it's a more one-on-one question, or if it's something that might benefit the group, we answer them out loud and for everyone else to hear. At the moment, there's not too much information we would take for a trade. We have 4 of our charts flat of the larger charts, 2 of them strong but in opposite directions. So we're looking for more information right now.
Interesting. We are near the midpoint of our morning. We've come into a tighter range the last 10 minutes or so. 10, 12, 13 minutes. Bottom part of this, threes are starting to turn nicely coming down. Nothing to pair with them at the moment. They still need more angle for 45 degrees. I mentioned briefly some of the geopolitical events going on, which has caused caused the gap open, the gap down. A little more volume. It's been good for us. Although you don't like to see some of those things happening. Be interesting how everything plays out. Referring to a Russian fighter jet that was apparently doing some raids in Syria and shot down by Turkey this morning, or overnight. Of course, Turkey is a NATO country, and by doing that, typically all NATO countries would come to Turkey's support, although Germany has said that they won't. And of course, the French president's over speaking to our President Obama today, trying to muster up support to get a stronger attack on ISIS. So, very interesting events happening. Of course, the U.S. is a large part of NATO. Most dominant player in NATO. So it'll be interesting, again, how things play out. One's volumes ticks are moving up with an E and an F. E is a little weak. It could be getting a scalp. Looking for a white arrow. There's a white arrow on the 317 and a 73. Halfway in our consolidation. Two-tick target. Lost our E and F, still have our one volume T, and there's our two ticks. That's what we like to see. A nice push. Might have been able to hold that longer. 5C has actually just come in. We are coming to a point of resistance, 73.75. See if we get another. Sorry, C is gone now. One volume E. We have our scalp. E's backing off. D is in. If we can get that, the same spot, 74, and I couldn't fill that. We had another scalp move come in. Those are pushing through our high. That would have been very nice. As we moved up, coming close to a 10.5. Actually, we do have a 10.5 now, with the B bias supporting it. That was a trade we wanted to be in on early on for the push through. And of course, we came back several times, and we did get some profit at points. Of course, we've got two ticks on this scalp that came in. I'd like to see a pullback. Can consider another scalp. 1C, D. Again, the market's already moved up 5 points. F is flat. I'd like to see some angle on F, although it is deep in the green. For the bigger setup, we'd like to see a pullback first. At the very least, a sideways consolidation. More, would like to see a red arrow. For that 10-5, 5B, C is supporting this strong. Gone sideways. If we can get a white arrow, sideways on the 144, a couple of candlesticks on the 317. We are coming up to the high of our morning, which is going to be a point of resistance. Bounced around here earlier and came back down. So always beware of points of resistance when you get into trades or consider trades. If we can get through there and close the gap, that would be nice. Shorter term, the volume E is coming down. We had a red KL. Again, we pulled back 5 ticks here. That's nice from our recent high. Our C has flattened. Still have the 10-5 with the B. Even a setup 10. Although again, we are right near the high of our morning. Ergs have come in stronger. If we see a white arrow on the 144, 317, we have a setup 10, 10-5, AB. We don't have the threes. Actually, sorry, we can't do a setup 10 with the red threes. We used to do them a while back, but whenever we have red threes, we backed off. So we can look for a 10, 10-5 with the A and B, a white arrow.
So while we're watching for the next white arrow, which can appear either on the 144 chart or the 317 tick chart, everyone be keeping your eye on those two charts. Just wanted to comment. There's the arrow on the 144.
That was a 10-5, 10A. 10-5, A and B were all there on that arrow. Not considering a setup 10. Just going to lock in a tick. I'm going to take the point. Give it a chance and move through. It could still push through. Oh my goodness. There we go.
This is a great trade.
And I locked in my point there when it came back.
I'm in at 77. I have a point and a half locked in. Moving through to 2 points. Trailing minus. Wow, it just keeps going. Wow. Locking in 3 points.
Very nice.
and it just came back and took me out. I secured 3 points there. Of course, I trail a little bit tighter than Greg does. That was a fantastic trade to be right in there behind.
Several different ways of playing that. Sorry, go ahead.
Comment just came in. We have one of our members saying that I took that without a scalp, and that is true, actually. I did take that. There was a volume E that was developing, but it was not arguably at 45 degrees just yet. Only reason that I would have taken that and considered that to be a valid trade is because of all the other green information and on the charting. And just before I was about to enter the trade, I was going to draw attention to our attack charts. And normally we don't actually look at our attack charts for information before we enter a trade. But at the very moment when I entered, if you were looking at the H attack right now, which is in the 5-minute column at the bottom, we can see that the green line representing the amount of buyers that are active at the moment versus the red line, the amount of sellers at the moment, there's a very large split. And this is actually a very rare split to see in such a high valued chart, such as the 5-minute column. You can sometimes see this kind of a split in the volume column or the 1-minute column, usually not the 5-minute column. And even the G attack, there's a very large split. There's a separation that shows a grand amount of pressure for green. And based on all the other information, that was one of the rare opportunities, as long as I saw the scalp developing, which the volume E did develop right after entering. It was somewhat of a riskier entry, but it was still a fantastic push upwards that was indicated by quite a lot of long-term information. So yes, that is correct. I didn't enter with a very valid scalp entry, but based on all the green pressure, that was a trade that I was taking the next white arrow on, regardless if the scalps were ready or not. And to be fair, I did wait for the scalps to be half ready, and the scalp entry did develop right after I took the arrow. But yes, that is something to be aware of. Thank you for commenting on that. I certainly want to be consistent with what I say and what I do.
Looking for another white arrow for a 10A. We did pull back 1.5 from the high. Haven't had a red arrow, but we did have a 1.5 pullback. 10.5 A, B are up nicely. Started to close the gap. We've stalled here for a moment. Sometimes the market does rest.
Question here, if we're looking for another entry after the pullback, yes. We still have a very, very great 10A 5B right now. All the charts are, well,
B just went flat.
B just went flat. Seems sometimes when you talk about a chart, it hears you and it plays a trick on you and decides to hide or go flat like it just did. We actually do have quite a bit of information pushing red at the moment. We still do have a 10.5A, but you'll notice that we have our B bias, our C bias starting to indicate red pressure, 3-1 volume, D, the E is kind of flickering, but we have a lot of information across the board right now. Red.
Buy arrow on the 144. Actually came in at 80. I was able to get 79.75 for that 10A.
It's still certainly a great 10A. If you're following my method, I'm waiting for one more chart to align, so it's a 4-chart setup going upwards. But of course, I'm taking less trades, and today it seems like most of our trades are paying off, and this is this is the same kind of trending we're used to from last year when we talk about how we had a record year in 2014. Today's been a great day for trending so far. That B bias is starting to come back in. Want to see 45 degrees before I get in, but this is already looking like a great trade so far. Greg had a good entry. Smaller term, scalping charts, volume E, volume column is turning around, waiting for the ones column. That's likely what our limiting factor is here.
Waiting for it to push up through the 8075. Like to see it come up to 83, 84 mark. Got my target high in case we get that quick push.
That's interesting. The volume E column, both charts cycled through green and now are turning back red. Our 1D column, the ones are looking to be at the bottom of the range. D is losing a little bit of angle. Our 3s are ticking in and out of getting a little bit stronger angled down. We'll want to see what happens when the scalp charts finish cycling through. Still have a strong 10A. That is a very strong 10A. It's encouraging to see consistent angles and angles that stay at such a sharp angle as well. I would easily say that's about a 60 degree, maybe stronger than 60 degree angle on the A bias right now. And the 10s following suit there. B bias is just under 45. Again, we're seeing pressure of the 3s and the smaller charts, but if the 3s can flatten or start heading up the other direction, then this could be an indication of pressure upwards. It could also be an indication of a bounce spot. You'll notice that we bounced off of 2080.50, touched on that value, and then came back about a point and a half. Then the market rose again to 2080.75, and it's bounced again. It's come back a few ticks. So right now is a deciding point in the market, really. Over the next 22 minutes of the session, 21 minutes of the session, really this moment will be determining the direction we take. And volume E finished their cycle. They're now green. Well, actually, I'm not sure what they're doing.
Yeah, we're making another push up to our high.
B bias is there now.
See if we can get through this time.
There's a white arrow. That volume E is just about, well, the bottom volume is not there, but that B bias is looking pretty good. And the 1D is developing in behind this. I'll be grabbing the next white arrow just based on the, well, now the E's gone. Yeah, these now, there was a very sharp E spike right as I was mentioning that I would take the arrow, and now it's turned around again. So it looks like another bounce. You'll notice it touched on 2080.75 again, and once again the volume chart is turning red. Our ones have been red for the last 3 minutes or so. They have not finished their cycle downward and started to push up yet. So that may be the piece of information that we're missing from our puzzle. B went flat, and the A is actually just weakened a bit. So maybe this is a bounce spot where it's going to turn around.
A did weaken a bit. It still is 45 degrees. 10s are still sharp. But as you say, the B, the 5s are starting to crest. And I'd like to see something in our small charts. We may see a green K attack come in now. Pushed up to the 80.75, tapped on our point a couple of times. Could have filled 3 ticks easily.
You're right, A is certainly still 45. The pressure upwards is not dissipated. It's weakened, not dissipated.
I'm going to try to get out at break even. and I'm out at break even with that weak A. Whenever I held on, Brandon, for a bit, A was nice before, and that's the sharpness of the trade, and when components start to fall away, the 5, the B, and the A starts to weak, the 10 ergs are still nice. You see the smaller charts, as you were mentioning as well. We tried to push up a couple of times and couldn't. It may still push up, but I just want to wait for another opportunity here.
Certainly. In all that excitement, I forgot to write down the trade that I took. I don't quite remember what time that was at, but I'll be recording it at. Well, I was able to grab the entry at 77 and then hold it until 80, and then took exactly the 3 points on that one green pushed upwards. So I'm just writing that down right now for a minute.
Yeah, I tried to get 77.25, but got in at 77.50. And it came up to the point of resistance. Tapped through by a tick, came back. Just gave it a few chances to go through. Locked in the point, and then it screamed through.
I'm actually going to be recording that as 2 3/4 points profit. I'm recording a tick delay of entry. I was trading on a simulated ladder, and I grabbed the 77.00. But
okay.
Just to be consistent with the way that I've been tracking these trades, I'm going to write down that I got in a tick after that.
Sure. Pulled back a point and a half, 2 points actually off a recent high, coming into almost a 3C. That top 3 looks like it's just off of 45. Maybe getting a scalp down, actually. Volume tick, E and F is flashing. Close to a volume EK with the F backed off. Volume EK upwards. You need the F. Had a couple of white arrows. Didn't have the F bias. Didn't have the full scalp. K backed off. A is sharpening. Looking for... We could have actually taken that one of those that last arrow there, actually, Brendan. If I can get the same for the 10A, the 2080.
Our scalp charts are certainly developing back in to support this. The E-bias is just a little bit flat at the moment, but it was spiking just a second ago. Volumes are coming up. 1D is coming up. Don't have the 4 charts. I won't be taking the arrow, but this looks like we could be having a short-term move upwards. Certainly some green pressure in our charting.
I didn't see the spike on the 144 chart up to 80.50, where that last white arrow came in for the 10A. We did have a 2-point pullback.
So earlier I was talking about the smaller waves trickling from the small charts up to the larger charts, and it seems that that red wave that we were looking at, taking over the 3C from back when we were looking at the full 6 charts all angled upwards, the wave is fully in effect on the 3 column right now, and it's starting to take its more permanent effect on the 5B. You'll notice that the 5s are at the top, and 1-5 is already red, and the B is it's rounded on the top, and it's starting to come back down. So long term, it looks like we probably are at the bounce spot. We were talking, I was talking about how there was the 80-50 bounce, and then there was the 80-75. We've hit twice now. It looks like we may just have had another bounce at the 80-50. So it looks like our shorter term scalp charts are pushing down as well now. E-bias has got a decent angle downwards. And we had a K-attack cross 2 into the red just now. C-bias is still there. It's held pretty consistently over the last 20 minutes, I want to say. But again, this is a point where we want more information. We're still somewhat consolidated over the last 15, 20 minutes. We've been just in the range of about 2 points. And after that one strong push upwards, we're just looking for something to break us out of the movement. So that EVE spike is still holding pretty strongly. The volumes are changing. They were red a moment ago. It could be pushing back to the green. Ones are flat. The top one is still slowly pushing upwards. Top 3 went green. A lot of conflict in our charts right now. We have 4 ergodic charts that are all conflicted. This is 5, 3, 1, and volume. Well, the 1s are now both green. The D is turning back around. This could mean good information for pressure upwards for the trade Greg's in.
Got my stop back below the 78.50. I've got it back at 78. 78.50 was the lowest point. That was 2 points actually. 78.50. And it was a spike down.
E-bias is deeper. It's a little bit weaker now.
Weakening and it's ticking, yeah.
Top 5 went completely flat. Now they're both just getting ready to turn red. That green 3 now turned red again.
Be nice to see a nice green K attack right now. You get that separation. Looks like it's spiking to possibly come in, and be nice to see it bounce off this 78.75.
E went flat, starting to come back up. The K certainly might cross. Shorter term, the scalp charts are starting to line up upwards. Certainly a volume E upwards right now. Very strong spike in the opposite direction, or upwards direction. It was red a moment ago. 5s are gone red. It looks like this wave is starting to finish the development in the 5s. They're starting their descent. A-bias is just, I would say, under 45 degrees, just barely. It looks just to be about on the threshold. There's the 1150 replot.
And it's
A-bias is gone.
Just holding on for a moment, seeing the 1's volumes and ticks turning. And we pushed up a couple of ticks. I'm going to play this tight. Hovering over 78.75. If it comes down there, I'll be clicking there. Otherwise, a nice EK coming in. 1 volume EK, 1 volume tick. Moving my stop up.
Certainly a lot of green pressure in the smaller charts right now. 1 of the 3s turned green again. Our 1 volume is there, 1 E. D has a little bit of angle, not quite committed, but This looks like it could push upwards a little bit before coming back, and it certainly looks like the charts are taking the wave into full effect now. We have 5 of the 6 larger charts showing red pressure. Just the 10s are staying out of this so far. Still pushing up.
This be a nice little surprise. Our bigger trade setup went away when we were almost 2 points down, 1.75 down. We've pushed up on the smaller charts, just holding on. Seeing those smaller charts pushing up, tapping on break even right now. Coming up to the most recent high, if we push through.
It's the little train who could, pushing us a mountain of red. Is it the little train who could, or is it the little choo-choo who could? I haven't read that book in many years.
It's been even more years for me. Although, well, maybe not. I'm sure I read it to my kids.
I don't have any kids yet. I imagine I'll read that to them someday, though.
The little engine that could, someone's saying.
The little engine that could. There we go. That's what I meant.
Someone's been reading it. Our E is backing off. We still have a 1 volume tick, just holding on here for another push. Don't mind getting out a tick or two down on the trade if I have to. Just trying to give it a moment to push up. E is coming back. Nice 1 volume tick. E. Of course, this would be a scalp if there was an F bias. Very nice.
Wow, it's pushing through.
I'm going to move my stop up to 79 to break even. There we go.
Wow.
I can even lock in a tick here, Brandon. Just to give it a moment to...
This is surprising. This is a pleasant surprise. This is one of those happy surprises you don't expect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we talk about cycles in the charts, and 10 erg still stayed strong, but we saw the smaller charts come in to support them and bring another wave going up.
We sure did. Starting to see the scalp charts turn around. 3s are not conflicted. C bias is angled back downwards, but the the green 3 went red and the red 3 went green.
So I'm just going to be aggressive here. I got my tick locked in. If it takes me out, I'll have 4 points locked in. It did. I've got 4 points locked in for the day. Set up 10 as well as our regular setups. A combination.
Overall, actually, great day for trading.
I was thinking I had actually 1.5, 1.25 in my setup 10. I really only had half a point. So I could have had 4 points locked in on my... I've got 3.5 points on my regular. I thought I was less than that. I wasn't calculating that compound that we were down a few ticks. So I could have actually locked in 4 points on my regular. Oh well. 4 points overall is still fine. We're into our last 5 minutes. Maybe if I can eke out another couple of ticks, we can try to get 4 points on the regular. Still have 4.5 minutes to go. But I don't want to make a trade for the sake of making a trade. In fact, maybe just on that note, I'll just shut down the live ladder. We do have 4 points locked in, and that's always good. You get tempted, like right now you see this EK coming in. You're getting another push. and it backed off. I think it's going to push through the high here, though.
A-bias certainly came back into the green. The smaller wave we're seeing, yep, this looks like it might continue upwards. Those 10s have been faithful. They've held for the last hour. Same angle and everything.
That's the push I was wanting to. And I had it came right back to my stop. If I'd locked in break even, of course, I wanted the 4 points overall.
Yeah.
So you can't second guess. A few other trades this morning, I was trying to be a little more aggressive when I could have been more conservative and locked in more profit. Sometimes held a trade just past the losing the setup, and then took profit, and then it shot up when another setup started to come in. So try to be conservatively aggressive and get some of the moves. We've got 4 points. We've heard some people say if they get a point a day on average, they're happy. And sometimes people get that in the first 10, 15, 20 minutes and go on with the rest of their day. I'm just going to start tallying our score here. If you see anything come up that's of interest.
Well, looks like right now we're starting to see the red pressure develop and maybe complete. Both threes are now red, and scalp charts are developing.
Actually, I like that volume tick EF.
That's a volume E. Yep, ticket and F are there as well.
It's right at the tick trend line. We've seen a couple of these come in today. The arrow came in on the 3.7 or on the 144 as well, right there at 81.25, but it already moved a point and a half. We've lost the F. When you see pullbacks like that, that was a point and a half off our recent high, right back to the tick trend line. Very close to, I was going to say the 10-minute trend line. It was on the 5 and 3-minute trend lines.
We have a comment that came in that says someone's got an Android. Actually, no, that was my iPhone. So good try, but nope.
iPhone with an Android operating system?
No, I would never betray my Mac alignment.
Oh. A-bias starting to tick up.
Yeah, it looks like
it was weakening just a moment ago, and now it's ticking up into our last 35 seconds, 38 seconds.
It was rounded. And the B-bias is still slightly angled down, but it looks like it was starting to lose its angle, starting to come back around towards the top. This could be pushed through. This could be if the waves come back through with the replotting of the scalp charts. If the 10s hold, this could be more reason to look for a trade upwards. This is a great example of how our 10-minute column is the strongest column on the software. And even though we try to look for as much information as we can before entering a trade, you'll notice the 10s did hold for a lengthy amount of time. And if you were trading based on how the software used to be designed back a couple of years ago, if you were taking just information based on our largest charts, then you could have held the 10-minute chart all the way from the bottom when it started pushing upwards. Of course, we have more information now, and that works to our advantage more often than not, but it's interesting to see the 10s hold for such a long duration of time. It's been at least an hour that they've held for so long. So interesting to see our larger term trends and how the software works, but of course, we like to be advanced in the way that we use much more than just one chart and the way that we make our trades. Just wanted to point that out, that software works in interesting ways. Whenever you're ready, Greg, with the tally.
Yeah, just give me a couple of minutes here, and I'll be ready.
Any other questions, feel free to put them in right now. We're just getting ready to finish for the day. If you're tuning in again with us at the end of the session, great session. We're up at quite a bit of green number of ticks. In terms of tracking Brandon setups, I only took the one trade today. That was at, it was approximately 8:20. I didn't write down the exact time it came in. I was on my simulated ladder, and also I was speaking, so I wasn't quite writing at the moment. But it was entry at 2077 for White Arrow. I recorded on my notes that it was an entry at 77.25, which is what I've been doing during my testing phase of my method. I'm recording a tick late on each trade just to compensate for the live conditions that I'm not trading in yet. Which I'm working on, and is the reason for my absence for the first half of the morning. And I was exited at 80.00, which is a 3-point gain, and I recorded on my notes that I had 11 ticks of gain on that. And the setup there was a 10 ABC 5, so that was 5 charts, and the volume E was there to support it as well, although we discussed how that was the controversial volume E because it was developing, but not quite with 45 degrees of strength. So that was the only trade I took today. There was apparently another entry potential earlier this morning at about 7:30. I was working with my broker in the background, but I received a number of comments saying that it was looking like potential for a good trade, and a few comments even came in saying that they were able to lock in 1 point, and one comment said 2 points. So great job to those who were watching the charts and able to make the calculated decision to enter.
Good. Well, for the regular tracking, set up 10, we were up half a point. The regular, all the other regular setups we watch, scalp, we were down 3 ticks, 5B up a point, 5A up a point, 3-1 down a tick, 10-5 up 2 1/4 points, and 10A down a tick. Sorry, up a tick, for a total of 3.5 points. And again, we're a little aggressive on some of those setups. People may have been able to lock in more points or more profit. We locked in some profit, waiting for a bigger move, and some cases it didn't happen. So, but we still locked in profit. We're up 4 points overall today, which is nice. Always good when people hit their targets. And thank you everyone for being here today, as Brandon's already mentioned. If you are on this afternoon, watch for nice angles on the ergs and the biases. Practice on your trading ladder. Thanks, Brandon, for your commentary and comments here. We'll see everyone back here tomorrow morning.